Welcome to this tutorial about AI. Today we will be creating a soldier example, having some traits of a soldier running around. And let's just jump in to see what the final product is and then start creating it. So this is what we will be creating today. We have this AI behind this wall, which is roaming around and just doing its own little thing. And we can at any point activate an ability which will cause a sound, which will cause him to come investigate. If he at any point gets line of sight of us, he will then try to find a position to take cover in. And he does that based on a little bit of a rule set that he has. So if we lure him over, so now he has seen us and then he took cover over there. So what he will try to do is essentially he will try to find a piece of cover that is half cover. He won't go behind the full wall because he can't see over the wall. So we'll find any kind of cover that is close to us so that he has cover and yet has a close shooting position. So if he has multiple covers in between us, then he will try to get the one that's the closest to us. And this is essentially all the AI logic that we will be creating in this tutorial series. So here we are inside of Unreal Engine 5. Now this will work just as fine in Unreal Engine 4 as well. The things that I have done off screen that we will be skipping just to save some time is I have imported a character from Mixamo, and I will provide a link down in the description of where you can do that, and also the link to a video showing you how you can import Mixamo animations if you do not know how to do that. But essentially the only thing I've done is I've downloaded this character, so he is available, and imported some animations for him to make use of, and also did some basic inverse kinematics when it comes to having his hand on the rifle. So that the different animations look okay. And he will be used as our soldier AI in this example. Now, other than that, I have created a blueprint, which is essentially just a child of our AI civilian, or not civilian, the AI blueprint that we have created earlier. It doesn't have a lot of logic in it, so if you haven't seen those episodes, this is essentially what we have. We have a tick which we are not using. We have a perception over here, so that means that we have an AI perception component over here, and we have set up a config for sight and for hearing. And for both of these we have set up that the detect by affiliation has all the enemies, neutrals and friendlies ticked in. And the perception update here you don't need to pay that much attention to. We will be changing this later on, so this is just remnants from our previous tutorials, and as is this event begin play update that we have over here. So the only thing that you need if you're starting from scratch now is to have a character that is a character that will be possessed by a controller class, but we haven't created the one that we're going to be using yet. And you need to have perception on the AI. So let's start off with all of the things that we need to do. So to begin with, we will create a folder and we will call this behavior. And what we will be doing is, to save some time, is we're going to be creating or taking some shortcuts by reusing some of the things we have used in the civilian example. So we'll just be copying these two different nodes over here. So we'll duplicate them and we'll move them into the soldier's behavior. Now, if you have not followed along earlier, then you might be thinking, now I can't follow along, but you'll be fine. We will be going through all of this anyway, in short order. But essentially what we have been creating here now is we have a behavior tree for the soldier and we have a blackboard for the soldier. So the behavior tree, let's clear out some tabs over here, like so. So behavior tree for our soldier is currently looking like this, and this is the logic that the civilian had. Now we won't be making use of much of this, we will be creating new things. So we'll just remove everything except for the selector. So if you created a new behavior tree, you just create a selector over here and you're up to speed when it comes to that. Other than that, we need to also add our blackboard, and for me it by default has the civilian because that's the one I copied. So you can create your blackboard, which I would suggest you name BB soldier for blackboard, and then you add it to the behavior tree over here, and then we can save. So now we have the same blackboard keys as the soldier had, as the civilian had, and we're going to be removing some of these and we're going to be adding some of these as well. But for now, these are the ones that we're going to have here. And if you want to have them created, just so you have them created, we have the self actor, which you get immediately with all blackboards. We have a vector key, which is a wander location. We have a Boolean key for it's in survival mode, and we have 2 more vector keys for hostile sound location and hiding location. So if you want to create them, you can create them and then continue afterwards, but that's what we're going to be having. In addition to that, we need to create a controller. So I'm going to be copying the controller, a duplicate of that. We'll call it controller, and then we'll call it soldier controller, just to keep things very separated from each other. Now you might not want to have different controllers for all the different things and such. You might want to have a different structure, but we're going to be keeping it here just to have everything very separated from each other, so it's easy to see everything. Now, opening up our controller, we have it with a begin play, and that's essentially all that the controller has in it. The controller will be running a behavior tree, and by default for me it's the behavior tree for the civilian because I copied that controller. So this one we will be changing to the soldier one. So if you're creating this, you will just be creating this run behavior tree node, and then that is that. In addition to that, we also have the actual blueprint for the AI character. So the AI character, you can see if we go like so, we have a third-person character made out of, or parenting from a character. That's how that one is created, or an AI character that's parented from a character. If I said wrong, I'm not sure. So our soldier here is inheriting from the BP AI character essentially. Our AI character, like we said earlier, only has these 2 senses, and it has some basic things that it gets from the third, or the character actor parent. So what I have done is I have created a animation blueprint, and you can put whatever character you want to have here, of course. And I've just created for that animation blueprint a very simple graph. It's over here. So it only has an idle run. So this one is containing a blend space, a one-dimensional one, so it can only move along with the velocity it keeps moving forward. And that's essentially all it does. You might have seen that I have in the anim graph here, I have some extra things just for the inverse kinematics, but that's not important. It's just to make it look a little bit better. It's not important when it comes to the AI. And that's essentially all that the soldier blueprint consists of. Now, the point of the soldier is essentially to give a example of some behavior that a soldier would have. So what we will be aiming to do is have a soldier which will try to find some cover so that it has something to shoot from, while also maintaining some kind of defense against the player. And we don't want the soldier to immediately run up and be hostile. We want it to be triggered by something, and we will be using some stimuli to have that happen. And we will also be creating different positions for the soldier to roam in between. So it will have a few different areas where it considers these are good places for me to go and get cover from and shoot at the player. And then we will have it sort of randomize some of them to make it feel like it's not consistently acting in the same predictable way, so it actually feels a little bit more alive. So that's the general aim. It won't be a super complex soldier, it will just be finding a position to shoot the player from once it has been activated, and then it will keep moving between these places and actually firing or doing a firing animation to symbolize that it is attacking. So let's get started with that. To begin with, we can go to our behavior tree and we can start reasoning about what we want to do. So again, like we went through in the civilian, what you want to have generally when it comes to a selector is you have a group of different subcategories, of which the most important are to the left and the least important is to the right. And you always want to have something the furthest to the right as a fallback. So for example, you can have something as simple as a weight over there. In our case here, we will do a sequence, and we can have this as our sort of fallback weight. So this will be our roaming around node. We can capitalize this so it becomes a little bit more clear. So this is what the soldier will be doing when it has nothing better to do. When it has something better to do, one of the things would be to find a place to shoot the player from. So we can create a sequence for that, and we can call this get into position to attack. So that's what it wants to do the most. But we might have something here in between as well. We might have something like, let's say that the character makes a sound. If the AI hasn't seen the character, it might want to investigate the sound first. So we could add something like that in here. So this will be a investigate. So the least thing it wants to do is roam around. If it can, it will investigate, but rather than that, it wants to get into a position to attack. And we can also have our attack in here as well. So this is the general idea that we're going to be having for this very simple AI. Now, roaming around, we can for now just add a weight and have that happening. We will later on be adding some more things here, but for now the roaming can just be represented by a weight. The investigate seems to like suggests that we need to know about some sound that has been made, and we also need to make sure that we don't actually have a target yet. So let's use that as decorators. Before that, we can see that we don't actually have a something that represents a target quite yet among the keys that we have from the civilian. So let's go to our Blackboard and create something. So we'll create an object and we'll say hostile target. So this will be a reference to our hostile target, and we can go in here and you can see here as the object type. You can change it to be an actor, and this can be useful in different ways when you have certain nodes where you need to have an actor used, like a move to or something like that. So we change this to actor. Let's save and let's go back to our behavior tree. So in essence, what we want to do this, if we add a decorator and we say Blackboard, we want to say this when we have a hostile location sound, hostile sound location set. So we click on this decorator and we go and choose hostile sound location is set. So that's one of the requirements for us to investigate, but we also need to have not found a hostile target yet. So we'll add another decorator. And we'll click on that one and we'll use the hostile target as set. So this will be the base requirement for us to get here. And once we go here, we will add some logic to actually do that. But for now, let's think a little bit about getting into position to attack. So what do we need to have as a requirement for this to work? Well, just like we don't have a hostile target over here, here it makes sense that we would have a hostile target. So let's add that as a decorator. Hostile target and is set. And now we might think, well, if you have done the civilian tutorial, you might remember that we had abort conditions, where we could say that if this is fulfilled, then we don't want to keep doing this, even if it says that we should be waiting for a long while. So we can go in here and we can say that we should notify observers. You can see on flow control over here. And we can also see, actually, where is that? Never mind, it's not important. Anyway, so we can have here that when these values change, then we should be taking over this branch instead of something lower priority. So for example, our hostile sound location, when this one happens, then we can say we should abort any lower priority, which means roaming, if this happens. So when we hear a sound that we are seeing as hostile, we abort this to get here. On the other hand, when we have this branch over here, when we have actually acquired a hostile target, we want to set anything lower priority than that, like these two, to abort whatever they're doing to allow us to continue with whatever this logic is saying. So that's just the general abort conditions. Now let's start looking at how we will be managing these variables. For our roaming around, for example, we might want to have something like a random position somewhere in the world where we can go and walk to that place, and then we wait a little bit before we walk to the next place. So what we can do here is we add a task. And for me, I have a behavior tree task here already created, which is called determine wandering position, which we created in the civilian tutorial. So I will be making use of that one. If you're starting off fresh from this one, what you want to do is you want to go to new task and you want to have a BT task blueprint base and choose that. Now what happens then is you get to this screen over here, and from here you want to override a function. So you'll find it over here in functions, and you'll click the receive execute AI node. So this is the starting node for you. So this is what you need to do. Other than that, you can compile and save, and then you can go out to the content folder, and then you can find the new task that has been created, which has a very weird name. You can see it will represent by the tab that you have here. So you'll just press F2 and rename this to something more appropriate. Like for example, let's see, where is the, there we go. BTT determine wandering position, for example. Then you have the exact same as this one. So just rename this blueprint to that. I'll be removing this one since I don't have a need for it. So in your screen now, you should probably have something like this. You have this node over here. What we want to do is we want to have a random position to walk to, and we get that by doing the get random reachable point in radius. For example, that's one way to do it. And it needs an origin, so we get the controlled pawn and get its actor location and send it into origin. From that we also want to have a radius, and in here I've created a local variable, I promoted it, and I set a wandering radius so I can have it adjusted as needed later. This one currently only has 300 units, which means 3 meters, so it will find a position within 3 meters and walk to that. After that, you can see that we have this. This is a Blackboard key selector. So you see I've created a variable over here. It is of the type Blackboard key selector. And from that, if you drag out, you can see that you can type in set Blackboard value as, and then you get a bunch of different ones. So you can see we get all of these. And depending on what kind of a value you want to set, you choose that one. So the best corresponding one. In this case, we want to keep track of a location. So we want to have a vector. That's why we have this one. So we just output our result from here into the value here of the Blackboard key. You want to name this something reasonable so you understand what it is, like new wandering destination is fine. You want to expose this, you can either do it by clicking over here so you have an open eye, or clicking over here in the checkbox to get instance editable. And as a last part, you want to add a finish execute node. This is the node that ends the task and reports to the behavior tree how it went, if it went good or not. And you want to make sure to mark the success, because this simple execute node will only have one state of success currently. We might want to have something like a check for if it is actually able to get a location over here and return true or false as that to the result over here. But for this simple example, this should be fine and we shouldn't be getting any errors. Just something of note, of course, if you have started from scratch, you might not have this, but you need to have a navigatable mesh for the characters to walk around on. The AI needs to have areas mapped where it can actually walk and reach for this part to work. And for me, if I'm in the editor and I press P, then you'll see green will light up everywhere where the nav mesh has actually calculated as okay areas for the AI to walk to. And how it gets this is if you go to create, you go to volumes, and you have a nav mesh bounds volume. Click that, you get this kind of volume. Anything within the bounds of this volume is going to be calculated to see where an AI can go. So in my case, I have just scaled this up really far, and that's why I have this one over here. You can see if I walk out like so and I click over here, you can see that it's the outermost yellow box out here, so it's covering everything in here. So that's what you need to do as well. I'm going to delete this extra volume. And then, like I said, you can press P to make sure that you have green areas so that it's working as intended. Now then, going back to our behavior tree, we have now created our wandering position and we have a place to wait. So let's check out and see if this works. So I want to replace this character I have over here. You won't have this one, of course, if you started from scratch, but I want to replace it with this character over here. And let's see, I want to do this. And where is the replace? There we go. Replace. Like so. So we have replaced the character over here. Let's double check that we have set everything okay in this one. So in the blueprint for the AI, you want to have on the blueprint itself up here, you can see here that it has a pawn setting in the details and AI controller class. So we created, I believe, yes, a soldier controller. So this is the controller that will take over this character if it is spawned in the world and no player is controlling it. And the player controller itself, let's see, where do we have it there? Soldier controller. It's running the soldier controller behavior tree. And the behavior tree itself we have over here, and we only have this simple task in it. So let's check and see how this works. So here we have the character, seems to be standing still. Doesn't seem to be doing much of anything, so let's see if we can make apostrophe, you can get the debugging tools, and we can see that it's running its wait. You can see down here in the left. Over here is the debugging. You can see you can see all the different branches that it's taking. It's taking the 0, 6, and 8 branch. So if we open up the behavior tree over here, like so, give it a little bit of space, then you can see that this is what's happening. So it's running in here, it's determining a position, and then it's walking there, so to speak, and then it's going to the wait. Now the reason this isn't working right now is if we end this like so, and we go into our behavior tree, you can see that our behavior tree over here has a default variable here, which corresponds to the variable that we created earlier, which is the Blackboard selector key that we exposed. And we're saying that the destination that should be set here should be stored in this variable. And this is the self actor. Now, this is not correct for now. We wouldn't do any difference anyway, because we're not actually walking anywhere. We're just determined a location. But we can find the wander location and set that from this value. And then we can add to this a move to, and make sure that the move to is making use of the Blackboard key, that is the wander location. We'll save and we'll start again, and we can now see that our character is running around a little bit randomly every 5 seconds to some location. So that seems to be working fine for now. So the first part done. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you did not like it, leave a dislike. Leave any suggestions or comments you have down below. Subscribe and share this video if you want to see more like it in the future. That is all for now. Keep on learning. Take care.